My name is Olivia Goldstein. I'm the associate here at StartFast Ventures, and I am here today with Mike Quigley, co-founder of SpinCar and managing partner of StartFast Ventures. Mike, thanks so much for joining me today.
Hey there, Olivia. Good to see you. I'm excited we're doing this. This is going to be fun.
Yeah. So Mike, would love to learn more about your background in SpinCar. SpinCar is a very successful business providing the online merchandising platform for thousands of automobile dealerships and manufacturers around the world. Would you briefly describe your entrepreneurial journey, getting started and really bringing SpinCar to where it is today?
Yeah, no, great question. It's always a tough question for me to answer because my journey has been so circuitous. So it started right after college. I grew up in New York State, upstate New York, went to NYU. And I studied business there. And unlike most of my contemporaries who went off to work on Wall Street, I had one of my better realizations in life that was at the time. And in 2011 that, New York City didn't need another investment banker, and I might be better served from a, happiness standpoint and fulfillment standpoint by not going to work on Wall Street and going off and, sowing my entrepreneurial oats, as it were. And I teamed with a longtime friend of mine, and we honestly, all we knew was we wanted to start a company, which is a terrible thesis to start a company with, but we had a lot of grit and weren't afraid to fail, which we did for probably the first 3 years of our journey. We're spent really kind of going in circles and pivoting relentlessly from, one industry to another. I think we rebranded the company like 4 times or 5 times in our first 3 years in existence, and slowly kind of found a niche, which now has sort of exploded within the automotive sector around online car sales, which, when we got started 9 some odd years ago, sounded like kind of a wacky backwater of an industry, but now, especially during the pandemic, with car sales transitioning increasingly online, it's been a pretty hot sector to be in. So, and now we're, 9 years in, now we're, actually thinking about rebranding again. So SpinCar won't even be the name of what we're doing a year from now. And I think that's the key to success for any entrepreneur, constantly reinventing yourself and not being afraid of failure, and just recognizing that, any failure, if it doesn't kill you and you put it in your rearview mirror, it's just, learnings that you can take on to your next mission and iteration.
Yeah, definitely. What a fascinating story. So what would you say are some of the challenges that you faced early on?
Yeah, I think for us, the central challenge and toughest challenge was, outside of just, at the time being 22 years old and not really knowing what you were doing. And, but we were relentless in our, finding good people to surround ourselves with who could mentor us and so forth. I think our central challenge, beyond that, finding good people, which is, I feel like any business's sort of primary goal is recruiting amazing talent, would be like evangelizing a new product category. So what we've done around online car sales is it's not as simple as, just like putting a buy button on a website. There's a lot of education and consumer trust related value propositions that we've developed with our product suite. And without kind of going too deep into exactly how technology works, it's something that didn't exist in automotive or really any considered purchase category previously. And it was really mission building. We had to evangelize what we did, and there wasn't some incumbent we could point to as just being a 10x better version of. It was like a whole new thing. So it was like bringing religion to this sector, and so that kind of missionary viewpoint and grit and level of determination was one that we had to, develop. And fortunately, we were able to, celebrate the small wins along the way that kind of kept us going and ultimately sort of put us in the position that we are today. But yeah.
Yeah. So who would you say were some of your major influences or mentors, I guess now and even in the early days too?
Yeah, so many. I think to my earlier point around surrounding yourself with great people, I was fortunate with my co-founder to like recruit from the like early days, like a really great management team whom all have, a lot more gray hair than I do and have, are battle tested and have been through amazing experiences and highs and lows. So, I mean, they're sort of the primary group that I draw on for strength. But one other entrepreneur who comes to mind for me, not like sort of someone on the world stage, that a name that I don't know anyone outside of like my hometown would probably recognize, but he was a real estate developer actually. So sort of a, old world industry, if you will, but the effect that he had on the community that I grew up in was absolutely amazing. And I worked at his company during college, and the effect that he had on his employees' lives was absolutely amazing. And despite this, like pretty abundantly clear fact to me, he always, not always, but more often than not, did not get sort of the accolades I felt like he deserved in like the local and regional press, despite all the good he was doing so clearly to me. And that taught me at a really young age that you can't worry about what others are saying about you and what you're doing, and you've got to have your own compass, have your own values, and ultimately that's the backstop. If you believe what you're doing is right and is having an impact, that's enough. And you can't let the haters get you down, I guess.
That's so true. And finding people that are going to be important in your guiding compass matters so much for entrepreneurs. Do you have any parting advice that you would give to first-time founders?
Yes. So some sage advice that I was given in SpinCar's early days from one of our board members, who was a super successful Wall Street executive, one of the probably first women to have the level of success that she did at kind of like the partner level on Wall Street in the 80s and 90s. And I don't know, was the sort of very sort of indicative of that culture on the street. Gave us the unexpected advice of not being afraid to look around and just enjoy yourself and relish in the journey. And too often you focus on next quarter's results or hitting that KPI or OKR, et cetera, and never forget to look around and like to the people to your left, to the people to your right. And the journey that you're on is an incredible one that you'll never forget. So relish in it.
That's great. That's great advice. Thank you so much. This was such a fascinating discussion, Mike. Thank you for your insights. Where can people go to learn more about StartFast Ventures and your background?
Yeah, they can go to startfastventures.com.
Great. Thank you so much, Mike.
All right, Olivia. Thanks. This was fun. Later.